Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BuzzStream podcast. My name is Vince Nero, and today I'm joined by Tamara Sykes. She's the head of client strategy at Stacker. How you doing, Tamara?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about this changing landscape in SEO and kind of the need to merge SEO, PR, and content together. So this is something that's been very top of mind, obviously, in the past, I could say like 3 to 6 months as things like Google AI mode has rolled out, and just like AI is just causing an uproar in the whole industry. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And before I do, I just want to remind everybody to like, subscribe. The more that you could do that, the more we share this stuff, the more we can have great guests like Tamara on. So thank you all for listening today. Let's get into this. So I want to set the stage for listeners here who maybe have not been so tuned into this, because obviously like AI thing has been changing so rapidly. What has the research said about kind of how these content SEO and PR, how they overlap in an AI world?
So we'll just use one word to really describe what's causing the overlap, which is discoverability, or another term is visibility. So in all of those industries separately, the focus is on how you're showing up visibly in search. PR is focusing on how you're, showing up visibly in the media. And then content is just like where you're showing up in other places, because that can cross your own website, especially your blog, as well as like social media. Like if you're thinking content in a bigger umbrella, your newsletter, etc. And so with AI overview, especially, and just AI in general, and that pulling from different sources, you almost have to now be discovered and be seen as a thought leader. I know that's a term we always use, but as authority, as an authoritative source, and just show that you know about all these topics and you're showing up in all these different places in order for AI to reference you in the answers it's serving to people, whether that's in a SERP or whether that's within an AI tool. Basically, that's what's causing the merge, I'd like to call it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like its core, it's like a lot of these AI tools are still pulling from, the search engines, right? Like AI mode, that's kind of how it works. ChatGPT pulls from Bing. So, I mean, is this any different than what we've been doing for the past 10 years? Like, why are people making such a big deal about it now?
To answer your question, no, it's not any different than what we've been doing. That's actually kind of the satisfying part of all this, is that it's not different from anything we've been doing. And if like, I know at BuzzStream, y'all have been preaching this, I've internally preached this and just been this person overall. Like, I never felt there was a silver bullet strategy anyway. So like, again, it's satisfying for me. I think what AI is doing is just surfacing it in a different way, in a more obvious way. See, when we're doing any sort of like, I come from a PR background and digital PR, right? Like those two, I guess, practices. And in those areas, it's always like, did I get a media hit in this particular, publisher or New York Times, or like, the tier ones or the trades or whatever. And then with digital PR, it's always like, did I get a link back? Like, did I get a link back? That helps SEO. And now it's like, hey, even the brand mentions that I feel like from a PR perspective, we preach for so long. It's still great. Now it's like, hey, that's actually surfacing and going into how you show up in search and how you show up in the AI modes and the AI overviews and like how you're showing up everywhere. So it's like, it's only because AI is making it more obvious, because integrating all the different SERP tools and just, again, just the softwares that we're using now, but it hasn't changed a thing. It's just making it very clear that we should be doing this.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because I think there's still like this split as to how people think about PR and the benefits of PR. And
Absolutely.
on the one hand, it's like PR that supports SEO goals, right? Helps you rank better for keywords, helps you get surfaced. But on the other hand, it's like, I want to just say it's maybe building brand awareness, or making you top of mind, maybe is a better way to put it. So that when someone thinks of a vacuum cleaner, they think of Dyson, right? Like,
Yes.
you want to be ubiquitous for whatever term these people are thinking of. So I feel like in a lot of ways, these are maybe different strategies, and they can cause, or sorry, a lot of these goals can maybe cause different strategies, where the SEO side of people kind of only want to show up on relevant, hyper relevant sites, whereas
Mhm.
the more traditional PRs care more about kind of general awareness everywhere. Do you feel that kind of friction? Because it's going to kind of lead into my next question, but I'm curious if you felt that given your background.
Yeah, I mean, I've felt that friction before. Again, I love everyone I've worked with, but a lot of times, even how the goals are set up internally are set up to create that friction instead of everyone working towards the same North Star. And I do think, especially when it comes to companies and budget, everyone's trying to be the shining star, the team that helped the client move an inch
Hmm.
forward in any way. So, I mean, there is a sense of competition, but at the same time, like I said, I feel like at the end of the day, we're always moving towards the client going from being hidden in whatever way they were to being seen. So it's really one of those like we were never on opposite sides. We were always working together. We just got different directives from our leadership. And I think just in general, that kind of creates this like competition or this like I did this job, but I feel like they all feed into each other at the end of the day. We're all working together.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of next question was what you kind of touched on there. We did this
Hmm.
big state of digital PR study where we, interviewed a bunch of different people. And one of the major things I wanted to kind of grasp was who the digital PR teams work the most closely with. And
Mm,
we found that overwhelming majority worked most closely with SEO. And some of
hmm.
these other, we talked about like the content team and the traditional PR teams, the brand teams, they were, not fractions, but, 5-10% of respondents said that they work closely with those.
Yeah.
Outside of competing KPIs, I mean, are there other reasons why they might not work as well in unison?
I would say my next, and from what I've seen, and this is personally experienced as well as like what I just experienced when I'm talking to clients and brands, is that their language is different. Like you just mentioned all those teams. Again, I feel at the end of the day, we're all basically working toward the same goal. We might have different like KPIs we have to measure. Like again, PR is like think like how many media hits did we get? Did we get the core message out? But if you think about it, that's the same as the branding team. Maybe they're not focusing on media hits, but they are trying to get the core message out in a very specific way. And then with SEO, they're making sure that core message is shown on search, right? So it's like sometimes the languages are crossover. Like even, like I work at Stacker, and one of the things that we always say that we're earned distribution platform. But when people hear that, it kind of sometimes confuses them a little bit because PR, for example, is earned media and SEO is trying to earn space in search. All of those are different terms. And it's like, wait, how did this even cross over? But like for us, it's like you're actually hitting both at the same time. And it helps support your brand. So it's one of those, if we're looking at a chair, it's one of the chair legs supporting your brand
Mhm.
and your marketing. So, I mean, even for me, when I'm having conversations with different types of buyers and different people in an org, I have to always like connect the dots for them and say, like, hey, this is going to help your brand awareness and help your SEO. And this is how it ties back to what your overall goal is, which is, like you said, to be ubiquitous with a term, a thought, a position in the market. We are one of the one touch points in your marketing that helps people trust you. So it's really about connecting the dots. And a way to solve that is really to help is to find someone who can speak all the different languages and like just tie it in again back to that North Star, back to like this is the core of what we're doing. Yes, your KPIs are different because that's what you need to focus on, but it doesn't mean that you're not actually collaborating and working towards the same goal.
Yeah, so let's get into some of that kind of collaboration. I want to hear from you about how specifically, I guess, let's start with SEO and PR, right? So we have
Yeah.
these like three chair legs, our little three-legged chair. Like, so
Yeah.
let's talk about the two of them. How can SEO and PR work better together?
Okay. What I love working with SEO on is that they're really good at data. A lot of the keywords we're focusing on, for example, they have done the data, they understand the software. I feel like even their roles in general within a company allows them the time to spend on that software and like understanding all this data. I know in PR it's very fast paced, very much like prepping people, finding the core messages, pitching, it's very fast paced. I'm not saying SEO isn't, but we don't always have time to dive into the data. And again, our focus is on a different part of getting like media attention and visibility. So what I think SEO can do is really just translate the data to PR people and say like, hey, these keywords are hitting, which is telling us that these messages would probably resonate. What you're seeing in a SERP that's working really well will actually probably lead you to what people are typing and looking for and like what kind of answers they're wanting, which could really help a PR person find what story would help answer that or give some context, give some humanity to what this issue is, right? That they're searching for these answers. And then vice versa for the PR team, work with your SEO team to help you attribute how things that you're doing are impacting the business. Because yes, SEO has access and time to dig into that data and use like keyword research, et cetera, to figure out what's working and what's moving them up in SERPs, et cetera, like from a brand perspective. But a lot of times for PR, we know like one of the biggest challenges we have is showing attribution, showing like getting this link went right back to us, showing up in search or someone thinking of us or recognizing us. So also really collaborate with your SEO team from a PR perspective to understand how you can attribute and show the impact of what you're doing because they have the data. They spend a lot of time in the data. And because you're kind of busy focusing on media hits and what you're earning, you may not be seeing the correlation at times.
Yeah, I love that. You said something in there that I want to kind of circle back on, Tamara. It's like the idea of a message resonating. I think that's something that going into this like AI realm where I think a lot of what people are seeing is clicks are getting eaten up for top of funnel queries. So just use Dyson for whatever reason on that kick. But like if someone's searching for a vacuum cleaner, they might search, best vacuum cleaners and kind of get an overlay and figure out some of these problems that occur, which is best for pet hair or, does something get clogged often? And so then you're understanding these problems and then understanding what gets clicked and engaged with can help you understand, okay, this is where we're standing out. We're really resonating with people about pet hair. So like, how can I then roll that into my PR my PR strategy? So yeah, I love that. Okay. So that was kind of SEO and PR. Now,
Yes.
let's get into like the content strategy too, and how can PR teams now work better with the SEO and content teams?
Yeah. So funny because I kind of live in all three worlds in my day to day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I'm at the cross collab, but
Well, let's maybe define content then first.
yeah. So like content really can span a lot of different like again practice areas, disciplines because you can have content for your newsletter, content for your blog, content, the copy that goes on your pages. Like even though I know we think traditionally SEO is like really leading that, like what evergreen pages and what the product pages should look like. But content is basically, from my perspective, still writing it. And you can also have social media involved in this a little bit. Either way, no matter what discipline or practice area you're in, something that you can do is really tap into PR to understand what is gaining momentum from a messaging perspective because it could help you prioritize. I feel like in content, there's always so much to write and so much to create. And we're only talking about writing, then there's video, audio. There is so much you could do. And PR and what they're gaining traction with could actually help focus you a little bit and prioritize what you need to get done right now. Like this is urgent. I need to hop on this wave ASAP versus what can I plan for next half or next quarter? What can I push out? What needs, like what kind of roadmap can I create? I love to use the term content roadmap because there are things that are like timely and urgent now that you need to focus on. And there are things that you could probably push out and like write in pencil. And then I'll come back to this. Let's see if we should launch the podcast, for example, next year, or we need to do this ASAP. Everything else to go on the back burner. And PR can really help that because we have to prioritize in real time all the time. And things shift so quickly. So like when you're working digital PR/PR, even comms, like you're always shifting. And so when you have to shift, and that could actually help content prioritize. When it comes to SEO, I think the biggest thing is back to like what words, what terms, maybe content format are really helpful. Sometimes learning if a listicle is better versus like a video versus a case study, maybe long form content. We know from search that sometimes it was like you need to just have a ton of pages that said, what is this? How to do this? And it's changed. You might just need to do this big study or make sure it's hosted on your site that says, here's the state of XYZ. So really tapping into what they're seeing shift in like search engine results and like how they're seeing the brand evolve in search is really important to help you also prioritize what type of content you're creating. And I think altogether, now you're more aligned and you're more intentional.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to a specific example with
Mm,
BuzzStream. I'm kind of similar to you where I'm like living in all three camps myself, but like when I first started, the link building content seemed to rank better. To me, we kind of had this affinity in the industry for link building and, being a link building tool. As kind of I've been trying to shift the narrative more towards like digital PR and less away from like the traditional link building because of things like the helpful content update. It kind of negated some of those like guest posting and some of these traditional link building tactics.
yeah.
I'm realizing like we are still facing an uphill battle because we're known as this link building tool. I mean, we still get mentions for like influencer marketing, being an influencer marketing tool, which is something that we don't really do or focus on anymore.
Mm,
So yeah, that is definitely one instance where it could work both ways. I think where you're just realizing the awareness like has to change, so you have to change your SEO strategy, your content strategy. So I like that a lot. Would you say for people, say you're working with an agency and you want to kind of facilitate this flexibility in an SEO, or sorry, with a content team, is it just a matter of like, you know, kind of, I think you said it like penciling in or just kind of like leaving some like flex hours or something like where we're going to let's check in with the PR team and see what's trending now and see if we can kind of put a couple of those pieces out there.
yes. And as someone who's a planner, like this is like a real life question just in general.
Yeah.
Life can be unpredictable. Please don't like get so attached to the plan. Yeah, you have to plan it, and then you also have to verify. You know, you've heard the phrase like trust but verify. So you still trust your team. I'm not saying you should go in and be like, let's just throw the plan out and like never do a plan. That's not the way either. Okay. So like please hear me out. Do not throw out the plan. Please don't. Because that's just chaos. And we are not living in chaos. There's too much going on for that. What we can do is like plan. And I feel like even when I'm doing a content roadmap, for example, 3 months is a good solid plan. Here's why. Not much changes to the point that you're gonna have to rearrange or rewrite your life unless something's dire happening in 3 months. And when you're thinking from a brand perspective, you can pretty much stay on track and create like slight shifts if you need to, because you're probably gonna be again really in tune with what's happening. Let's say you're watching the news, you can be really in tune within 3 months and stay pretty solid. Outside of that, when you get to 6 months, especially when you get to 12 months, you still need to jot down what direction you want to go, but you have to be willing that if a stoplight pops up and you need to turn left instead of staying straight, that you're able to turn left. A lot of it's mindset, to be honest, like just having the flexible mindset to be like, okay, I know I'm writing this down. Like I want to write a story about, I don't know, I'm just going to use something I've posted about recently, like breaches, like, um, data breaches, but then maybe something else pops up that's more like people care more about, especially if you're anything consumer specific, like they care more about just saving space on their phone or something. Again, I'm speaking from personal experience. Hey, for goodness. I'm like, had to make sure the data breaches, but right now I'm just like, I am just dying for storage space, or, it seems not as related, but you can almost pull like the same thread, which is like securing your individual data on both sides. That's the core message, and do a slight pivot in 6 months. And then the data that you're probably mining or like paying attention to create these stories and create these like link building opportunities can still shift in 12 months, but you're like, okay, I'm not going to just exclude data and not like look for it in whatever I'm touching on just because I want to stay like this with the blinders on. No. And like I said, that's a PR trait. I feel when you're in PR, digital PR, it can shift at any moment. So you have to keep your eyes open and be aware of like, okay, I'm driving, but what are the other drivers doing? Drive with everybody else. So yeah. I mean, if you stick to your core message as a brand, you probably won't be so thrown off. But if you get so attached to the plan and so invested that you're like, we're never changing, it is just, it's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
And I feel like that is a challenge for agencies who want
Mhm.
to kind of set these plans and kind of like have these big strategic calendars and content calendars and whatnot. And I mean, I felt that myself personally at work, Siege Media. I feel like very rarely we would get past the like 6 month mark without needing to adjust
Exactly.
something. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even
Yeah.
3 months, there's probably different industries. I don't know.
Mhm.
Like, have you seen specific ones where it's a little more crazy than others?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for example, if you are in like the financial industry at all, I mean, it's
Probably like
always
1 week out. Yeah.
yeah, like again, me. I love a calendar. I live by calendars. I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, oh my gosh, throw out the calendar. I can't. I use it every single day. Like not just personally, but professionally. Like I know dates, themes, all this stuff. Like but also financially, like if you're looking at financially, but if you're doing like stock market stuff, like that's a different beast. Okay. You can probably plan around like in the first 3 months, like kind of state of quarterly things or quarterly trends you're seeing. You can plan on tax season, right? Like we know tax season is coming. You can plan on if major elections are happening in certain markets, you can plan on those things. You cannot plan on if the market is a downturn or an upturn. You can only try to predict it if you want, but like you that could change in an instant if they decide to drop things a point or not. You just know when the meeting's happening. So I'd say financial is one of the toughest ones. But again, you can plan around certain like tentpole events or tentpole seasons or even just consumer behavior because people do tend to think about things around the same time throughout the year. You could pretty much play around that, but everything else will be penciled in. Like, hey, we think this could go this direction. Let's go this. But then if everything is great and it's not as ugly as you thought it would be, then you just switch your story, right? But you still have the data. That's the thing. You don't like just start, you know, taking out data that you're like, I don't think it's gonna matter. No, no, no. Keep the data. I love a plan. And I get it from the agency perspective, right? Like you're trying to keep the client on task at the end of the day. You're not in the company. So that's its own challenge. But what I found too is like, even though we're talking about flexibility, another thing besides mindset and being flexible is communicating. When you're in an agency situation, especially, it's best to tell the client, like, hey, we're giving you this. Know that the further out it goes, the more penciled in it is. And let's have a regular cadence of touching base to like reassess if this is working or if we want to optimize. And even in that case, let's give ourselves 3 months to really put things out there and then we can reassess and see if it works, optimize it, or change direction. But that communication is key. Like if you don't communicate that, then of course the client's gonna feel like they had whiplash when you're like, well, this is not working. And they're like, what do you mean? You told us it's gonna work for like
Yeah.
6 to 12 months. You know what I'm saying? Like if you never set those expectations, like you are also setting yourself up for failure. Just opinion,
Yeah.
but
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking about as you're talking about this too is like the internal challenges that you have, like the red tape and the bureaucracy that comes in these large businesses.
yeah.
I mean, you could be an in-house worker or an agency working for those. Do you have
Mhm.
any tips for kind of getting getting through to the clients of the red tape to make sure that these things are aligned, to make sure the PR team has what they need to react quickly, or the teams can work cross-functionally without legal getting slowing things down. Like that's usually the biggest red tape piece, but
True, true. And you know what? Love legal. They're there to protect
yeah,
us.
no,
But
hey,
like
yeah,
I'm not faulting them. But of course they're looking through it. They're looking at it through a very specific lens as well. Like we didn't talk about legal in this entire thing, but legal does get involved, especially if you're in the health industry, finance again, if you're a bank. Like you have stipulations on policies. I think even real estate, brokers can only say certain things and maybe not talk about certain demographics or not. The red tape gets very specific. It could be industry level and company level. And it's there to protect you because again, you don't want to deal with what we call the PR crisis of it all. And then everyone comes out asking you for something. Just avoid that like the plague. But here's my thing. I would say again, try really to get everyone aligned, you have to have an aligned like core focus, a North Star. It sounds so simple, but like you think sometimes the CEO is thinking one thing, the marketing team is thinking another thing, the head of sales is thinking another thing. Like they're not always on the same page sometimes. Sometimes they're like the head of sales is thinking, I need to get as much income in the door. but they may not understand how the marketing team is feeding into that at all. And the CEO was like, I need the business to be here. Like, they have a dollar amount they want the business to be doing. Usually it's profit. Usually it's revenue. Usually it's like, I want to make sure the shareholders see X types of growth. Like, they're thinking that. So it's always crucial in some way. And that's why I think even if you're like, some titles I've seen is like VP of comms, or they're not really saying VP of PR because that kind of puts you in this like specific box. But that's why the people who are doing those comms roles are doing even CMO, for example, or they have to be the translators because they're usually running the SEO, the content PR team. They have to translate and say, hey, here are how all of these projects and campaigns that we're doing are actually feeding into what sales teams to get revenue, marketing to get like marketing qualified leads. Then the marketing qualified leads help sales. Like, you have to be a translator because at the end of the day, they don't understand the weeds of it. They're not supposed to, I hate to say this, but they're not supposed to because they have bigger fish to fry. You have to, it's almost like you have to tap into your own storytelling that you do for the brand and like do it when you're communicating or to get everyone aligned. If people don't understand what you're doing and how it actually impacts the company, you're not getting the budget. It just, so yeah, the red tape stinks. Legal is going to be legal. We just got to kind of accept that a little bit. But they're there to protect you. If you really approach it as, hey, I know you're doing this to help the business and I'm doing this to do that, to help improve our discoverability or visibility. I need to know what the guardrails are so I can do what's best. And like, I will always keep you in the loop. That approach actually helps you be more successful. And everyone's like, oh, we're on the same page. If you come in like, this is my KPI and I got to reach his goal, they're like, that's nice.
Right.
It's to help me reach my goals. I hate to say it, but it literally feels like communications 101. I hate to say it, but that's basically what it is. And I've had those experiences where I had to take a step back. And this was just like when I did PR for lawyers and I had to work with the account managers. And I had to really understand the account managers, for example, are being the client's advocate internally. So even though they're asking me for something and I'm like, what are you asked? Why? That's not possible. I had to like say like, okay, you're asking this, here's the possible. How do we work together to really help the client reach the goal? And then also how can we work together to message to the client that this is going to get them to the goal they're asking about really at the end of the day. You got to collaborate. You got to translate. You got to like sometimes sit down and be like, we're having a little tense moment.
Yeah. And maybe the earlier, the better, rather than waiting for those things to come to a head.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but you can only plan so much. Sometimes things come up.
I think that might be the theme.
Yeah. I mean, it's a theme. It's like, when we were kids and we wish that we thought things were all like, just straight and narrow. It just always happened this way. We went to school, came back. I hate to say, but as an adult, I think like your biggest challenge is just accepting that's not how it goes.
Yeah, I love that. That's good
anyway.
advice. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's go. So like the last thing I want to ask you is kind of the opposite of this, is the opposite situation where it's like you're a small business. You're maybe not even thinking of it like, maybe you don't have a dedicated SEO team, content team, and PR team, but you do need to have some through line, right? Like what are the ways, what is a simple way for like a very small business? Say it's a friend of yours came up and was like, Tamara, I want to, succeed in this age of AI. I'm a, plumber or dentist, whatever. They have a small business. They're just starting. How do you make sure these efforts are aligned and stay aligned? What's kind of like a simple message?
So simply put, SEO is what people are asking about your business. That's it. PR shows people that other people vouch for you. So like reviews is an example. And then content is just how you're like basically dating the customer. So you don't need to have like, because you're right, small businesses, I love small businesses. I started my industry working small businesses. Soft spot. They don't have the resources to hire like whole teams to just focus on SEO and just PR and just this. But if you can tie those three thoughts together, then you can find at least one thing in each path that just make sure they stay aligned. Like they're saying the same message regardless. So if someone on Instagram asks you a question, jot it down, right? You can probably make a blog post about that content. You can probably make a video, or if your podcast or your newsletter, whichever one thing is your consistent, marketing distribution platform, like you can do that. And then you could probably pitch a story about that very question to the media. But see, in that case, you didn't have to do 3 different research focused things, So you have access to a lot of information. And the beauty of being a small business is that you can pivot quickly, part one, probably a lot quicker than the larger company.
Sure.
But you actually are probably having customers talk to you directly. And when a big brand, we can't say that we get that often. So
Yeah.
you have advantages, just lean into them, but just simplify it in your brain. Like, don't get too caught up in the terms. And, when we're working for bigger brands or working with bigger brands, of course, we also use those terms. It's different level,
Yeah.
but yeah, just simplify it in your head.
Yeah. It's a great message. Simplify, communicate, understand that it's not going to be as easy as they make
Planned.
it seem. Like, yeah, planned is
Yeah.
probably the best word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't feel like don't box yourself into your plan is maybe a good way I think about it there.
Mhm.
Well, this has been awesome. I guess one thing I've been trying to do, leaving people with, is like, what haven't I asked you? If you were interviewing me about this, totally stole this from Great Healers, this question, but I think it's great. Is there anything else that you'd want to say on this topic that I haven't asked you about?
Oh my word. I would say the one question that I've always been curious about that I wish people would ask more is like what metrics would actually help me show that I'm having impact, no matter what practice I'm in. That would be my question.
Yeah.
Because everyone talks about show impact. No one says what metrics
Yeah. I
actually
mean,
help.
what are there kind of like universal metrics that you would look at? Again, like say it's the small business, right? Like, or
Mhm.
you're trying to maybe you work with a large business and you're trying to kind of come up with these unified metrics that can kind of keep everyone working together. What are some of those?
Yeah. My favorites are just general. I know they're vanity metrics, but I call them pickups or backlinks, depending again on the term you're using. Like just understanding the number of that is part one, because the number can indicate is it working or not. And then the next thing is it relevant? So it's kind of basically saying like, is it targeted? So is that link targeted to a specific message, or is it on a specific type of platform that matches what you do in any way? Whether it's your personal story, especially for a small business owner, like it's probably going to be your personal story, but does it match what you do in any way? That's important. And then if you really want to start diving into deeper data, like I know BuzzStream did this, but you can see like the effect it's having on where you're showing up and being seen. Of course, search is amazing, right? I'm not going to argue about that. But is it getting you more reach on your socials if you're a small business? Is it, are you seeing, when we talk about qualified leads, that's like the industry term, but like, are the right people actually coming to you and asking questions? Because if you're getting the wrong people asking you questions, then you're not talking to your customer. I don't care how many likes you're getting, it's the wrong customer.
Yeah.
So I would get to those things. Like if you could show anything about the impact, the reach, and then like who you're talking to, those two concepts really, really help prove that you're on the right track.
Yeah. I love that, Tara. Well, let's leave it there. Where can people best get in touch with you if they have questions about this stuff? Is LinkedIn your most active platform?
Yes, LinkedIn. I'm always open to a DM. Just let me know where you heard of me so I can reference it. So like say like, hey, I heard you on the BuzzStream podcast, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now
Yeah.
I'm following.
Personalized
But yeah,
DM people. Personalize your
yes,
DM.
please, please, please. Because again, speaking of my own thing, I am not gonna remember every single point of contact potentially. But
Yeah.
yeah, LinkedIn
Yeah.
is best. I love talking about storytelling. Love talking about personal brand. I love talking about how all these 3 industries intersect. Like that is like my bread and butter. So
Yeah.
hit me up if you
Awesome.
want.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Tamara Sykes, you can find her on LinkedIn. She is the head of client strategy at Stacker. Go check out Stacker and see the cool stuff they're doing. Just another reminder, like, subscribe, share the stuff with your clients. And like I say, as always, if you have questions about any of this stuff, leave it in the comments through Twitter, or sorry, in the YouTube, leave in the comments of Spotify even has comments now. I'm sure Tamara or I would be more than happy to answer any of the questions you have about this stuff. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.